Thank you for having me, my child. It's been many years since I've had the pleasure of sitting down and conversing with a friend like this. I must admit, I do miss it.
Many years? How long are we talking about?
It has probably been over a decade, I would say. And before that, perhaps a few centuries.
Huh?
I must have caught you by surprise. In truth, my age stretches far beyond the land beneath our feet, older than even the Hyperborean Empire itself. The magic powers of daemons differ greatly. Most are innate or passed down through bloodlines. I'm afraid it is not something that can be easily taught.
That's all right. I was just joking around. But seriously, I didn't realize you had so many years of wisdom, Lady Nifle. It's truly an honor to speak with you.
There is no need for such formality. Think of me simply as a friend, someone with whom you may share your thoughts. But tell me, what would you like to discuss? I have long distanced myself from the fleeting trends of the world. However, if you seek stories from distant lands or times long past, I would not mind sharing what I know.
I recall you saying that you were a fairy woman of the Misty Sea. I must admit, I'm still not entirely clear on what that means.
Perhaps you've heard of the Charon Law. In the beginning, the world was a chaotic sea of mist. From this mist arose the sacred tree, its branches adorned with pure white flowers. These flowers gave birth to our primordial ancestor, the goddess of life, Mother Embla, from whom all living things came. All life emerged from the Misty Sea. After drifting through the river of the mortal realm, all things eventually return to the Misty Sea. The role of the ferrywoman is to guide wandering souls back to the Misty Sea. Thus, I spend most of my time listening to the murmurs of the departed, responding with whispers.
That sounds rather unsettling.
Yes. To most, death is indeed a terrifying notion. Since the topic has arisen, allow me to share with you a tale about death. It is the story of a girl and her ailing younger sister. The girl and her sister were born into poverty in Elysium. Orphaned at a tender age, they had no choice but to fend for themselves, enduring both hunger and cold. Alas, one harsh winter, the younger sister succumbed to a fatal illness. Desperate to save her sister, the girl searched far and wide for any possible cure, yet none came. It was then that she heard a tale from an old man, the legend of the golden blood. It is said that a woman, blessed by the gods, was once revered by the nobles of Elysium. Her blood, believed to cure ailments and preserve youth, was as precious as gold. Countless nobles offered vast sums of gold for but a single vial of her blood. Yet, before long, war descended upon Elysium. During the Great Migration, she was taken by rebels, and her whereabouts were lost to history. Driven by her resolve to save her sister, the girl set out on a long and arduous journey. Eventually, much to her astonishment, she discovered that the woman was still alive, over a century old, and living in Aethery, the woodland kingdom. So, the girl carried her dying sister through mountains and rivers, and finally, they found the so-called Blessed Woman. Cradling her nearly lifeless sister, the girl tearfully begged for just a drop of her miraculous blood. But the golden blood, once believed to be a divine gift, turned out to be nothing more than a myth. A tale spun by the greed of the nobles to conceal their own sins. In truth, the woman had been imprisoned for her healing powers, enduring great suffering before finally escaping Elysium. She had long since decided never to use her abilities again, lest they cause even more pain and suffering.
So the girl went through all that for nothing? No, wait. Since you've spent so much time telling the story, surely it's not over yet.
You're perceptive. After much hesitation, the woman eventually agreed to help.
Why would she do that?
Because, you see, the woman had not fully closed her heart to the idea of healing others. Twice before, she had tried to use her blood to extend the life of others. Once for her closest friend, and once for her daughter. Her friend was a valiant warrior, fatally wounded on the battlefield. Her daughter, a respected scholar, was peacefully nearing the end of her days. Although their circumstances were vastly different, their decisions were the same. Both refused to accept the woman's blood, choosing death over a life prolonged by such a means. The sorrow in the girl's eyes reminded the woman of her own past, and her thoughts turned to a question that had long lingered. What could have been had she been able to save her friend and daughter? What might the path she did not take have offered? She needed to know the answer. So, she cut her own arm and gave her blood to the girl. She needed to know the answer. So, she cut her own arm and gave her blood to the girl. The ailing little sister drank the golden blood and soon regained consciousness. Indeed, the so-called miraculous blood is, in truth, but an illusion. It is a fantasy people have chosen to believe in. The woman's blood did possess a unique power, but it neither cured disease nor halted the process of aging. Instead, it preserved the body in a state of mere existence. Like an insect trapped in amber, unspoiled yet not truly alive. So, after drinking the blood, her little sister did not die, but her body was still in an irreversible decline. She could do nothing but lie in bed, struggling even to swallow water. She could not taste her food, nor understand the words on the pages, nor hear clearly her sister's voice. The girl took on various odd jobs, hoping to have enough time to stay by her sister's side and take care of her. To make ends meet, she had no choice but to take on the most grueling work, the kind that others would avoid. Her will was indeed unwavering, desperately clinging to the hard-won miracle. Yet her frail body couldn't withstand the constant strain, and each day she came closer to collapse. Eventually, the younger sister chose to end her own life. With the last of her strength, she pushed the small vial of miracle, the one her elder sister had so desperately begged for, to the ground and shattered it. Perhaps, in the end, she realized that this so-called miracle was but a pair of heavy shackles for both herself and her elder sister. It was I who guided her soul to the misty sea. Would you care to guess what she said to me?
From the look on your face, I imagine she said something gentle, like, "Thank you."
You are quite perceptive. I may have been too subtle, and perhaps not as sincere as I should have been. She expressed her gratitude to her elder sister, and to that woman as well. Though her life ended in suffering, it was through this very suffering that she found peace and the strength to accept her passing. Upon hearing this, the girl wept, breaking into profuse apologies. Yet, in the end, she spoke but a single word of thanks, directed at the urn carrying her sister's ashes as it drifted away. The girl later journeyed to Aetheri, where she became a skilled physician and settled there. After starting her own family, she visited the woman, sharing with her that she had found happiness in her life. It was then, in that moment, that the woman finally understood why her friend and daughter had refused to let her save them. In the grand design of life, death is not always an unwelcome guest. At times, it arrives with quiet grace, like petals drifting from a flower as fruit begins to ripen, marking not just an end, but the birth of something new. To resist death is to remain in stasis. It may actually cause them to miss out on the beauty life has to offer. You're a strong and compassionate child. However, this story reflects only the perspective of that woman. Do not let it weigh heavily on your heart. You are free to carve your own path, should you choose. I believe that no matter the path you take, as long as you remain clear of mind and not led astray by falsehoods, you will find the right way in the end. Greetings, my child. You seem weary. Has something been troubling you?
Since leaving my homeland, I've been through so much and experienced many regrets. At times, I feel so powerless, as though all my efforts will be in vain. Lady Nifle, as someone with centuries of wisdom, do you have any advice for me?
I see. Well, let me share another story with you. This is a story about a young man and a young woman, one filled with hope, courage, and dreams of the future. The story takes place a millennium ago, when Elysium was the only nation on the continent. One was a commoner, the other a noble. The young man, born a commoner, developed a profound love for books from an early age, particularly history and mythology. Even as a youth, his vast knowledge became widely known, and many expected him to become a great scholar. But the more he read, the more he learned, and the deeper he thought, the more he came to realize that this land was rife with injustices. What people had come to accept as normal was not always right. The commoners toiled endlessly, barely scraping by, while the priests dined in excess. Beneath the loud chorus of hymns, the cries of the innocent could be heard, condemned as heretics and executed beneath the gallows. Of course, one of those cries belonged to a young girl, said to possess the golden blood. By day, she trembled as she slit her arm, offering her blood to those who came to worship her. By night, she curled in her cell, weeping in pain and praying for mercy from the gods. One day, the young scholar ventured into the temple and delivered an impassioned speech to the gathered crowd, all of whom sought the so-called golden blood. In response, however, all he received was the sharp point of the guards' spears. He was thrown into a cold, damp cell, where, by a twist of fate, he encountered another key figure in the story, the noble young woman who had arrived with her father for an inspection. The young woman had a deep passion for riding and martial arts, and beneath her spirited nature was a kind and compassionate heart. When she came across the misguided young scholar, one of her own age, she couldn't help but feel sympathy for him. In secret, she visited his cell, hoping to persuade him to confess and earn a lighter sentence. But the scholar insisted on his innocence. He even urged the young noblewoman to awaken from her own ignorance. He revealed to her that the girl said to possess the golden blood whom people revered was in fact a poor soul held captive by a powerful nobleman, the noble young woman's very own father, who sought to profit from her. At first, the young woman dismissed his words as absurd, yet the fervor in his bright eyes lingered in her thoughts, refusing to fade. She saw sincerity in those eyes, and so, with a heart moved by his words, she took the first step towards uncovering the truth. Stealing the key from her father, she ventured into the deepest chamber of the temple, where she found the pale, emaciated girl, shackled and imprisoned. After learning the truth, the noblewoman returned to the scholar's cell and stood before him once more. Seeing her grave and sympathetic expression, the scholar understood that she was now ready, and so he shared with her the dark truths of the nobleman. The young man's words struck like a blade, tearing through the delicate fabric of the young woman's privileged life, exposing the grotesque reality beneath. In that moment, she began to see the dark corners of her world that had once remained hidden. She confided in her father, hoping he would release the young man. Instead, she found herself placed under house arrest, constantly watched. It was then that she realized her father had always been complicit in their suffering. Yes, there were times when they too despaired. Exhausted, much like you are now, they questioned the very meaning of their struggle. Yet, despite it all, they chose to persevere. Even in prison, the young man continued to develop his series, tirelessly sketching a vision of a new world rooted in justice and freedom. Without the support of her family, the young woman rejected the temptations of wealth, dedicating herself to uplifting the downtrodden and seeking out those willing to contribute to the cause. At first, their efforts were as subtle as the flutter of a butterfly's wings. Yet, over time, their actions stirred a storm, cracking the seemingly impenetrable structure of Elysium. Together, they became the leaders of the legendary Great Migration, leading a resistance that freed the oppressed from the grasp of Elysium.
The Elysium Resistance. The Great Migration. I've read about it in books, but they never truly achieved their vision of equality, did they?
Indeed, fate is a cruel force. It can stir a storm in the calmest of seas, or extinguish flames with the power of a tidal wave. As you've said, often our efforts yield nothing in the end. However, those glorious moments were real, and they will be eternally etched in memory. The Great Migration shed the light of courage and freedom across the Atlasia continent, piercing through the veils of deceit woven by the gods. For the first time, people were allowed to confront their own desires and emotions. Even after centuries, that spark of light endures in the weighty tomes of history, continuing to inspire those who strive towards the world envisioned by the young man and woman. You asked for my advice earlier, but having lived in seclusion for so long, I find it difficult to offer concrete guidance. What I can share with you is, the longer I have lived, the more I've come to realize that what's truly precious in life lies in those fleeting moments. The moments you fought for, what you cherish, will remain timeless, regardless of the outcome. Do not fear, nor hesitate. Within you lies extraordinary strength, and I have no doubt that you will leave an indelible mark upon the course of time. I have faith in you. For now, let us set aside the weight of our thoughts and savor this rare moment of peace together over a pot of tea. Greetings, my child. You seem much improved since last time. I am pleased that my story was of some help to you. Now, is there anything on your mind today you'd like to discuss?
I've been wondering, what are your thoughts on mistakes, Lady Nifle? I've been through so much and lost even more. At times I wonder if I've made the wrong choices. If I had taken a different path, would things have turned out differently? But I can't go back in time, and so I'll never know the answer.
I can see your confusion. Well then, allow me to share a tale about mistakes this time. It is the story of a couple. They lived on the outskirts of Elysium. He was a hunter, and she a maid in the city. For years, they yearned for a child, yet fate remained unyielding to their prayers. Then, one day, while hunting in the forest, the man stumbled upon a wandering child, battered, bloodied, and trembling in the cold. A pitiful sight indeed. Without hesitation, he brought her home. His wife bathed the child and found no visible wounds upon her frail form. Yet the child seemed to have been deeply traumatized. No matter what they asked, she simply stared at them, unblinking and silent. Still, the couple took her in, tending to her with patience and care. In time, the girl, like a frost-laden bud beneath the warmth of spring, began to open herself to the world once more. And one day, at long last, she spoke. She told them she had lost her birth parents. After some deliberation, the couple chose to adopt her as their own. They showered her with kindness, and in return, she blossomed into a sweet and well-mannered daughter. Thus, beneath their humble roof, a family found its quiet harmony. On the surface, yes, but beneath it all, the girl carried with her a terrible secret. She was born into a family of heretics, followers of the ancient Charon myths. As a result, her parents were executed, and yet she survived, saved by a mysterious healing gift that she possessed. With hands horribly mutilated, she dug herself free from their graves and fled into the wilderness, seeking refuge in the forests. In Elysium, nothing was deemed more sinful than heresy. Had her secret been revealed, even if her adopted parents did not have the heart to hand her over to the executioners, they would have undoubtedly abandoned her. Having at last found a place she could call home, the girl could not bear the thought of losing it. Thus she chose to conceal her true identity, clinging to the fragile hope that the truth would remain undiscovered. Time passed, and under the care of her adoptive parents, the girl grew. Her secret remained well guarded, and as the years went by, she even forgot it herself. She began to believe that, with her new family, she could live a happy, peaceful life forever. When her adoptive mother suggested they travel to the city, to work and experience the world beyond, the girl did not hesitate. After all, they would merely be lowly maids in the houses of the nobility, unnoticed and insignificant. One day, while cleaning, her adoptive mother accidentally broke a valuable artifact. According to her employer's house rules, such a mistake would result in a flogging. Unable to bear the thought of her mother enduring such a punishment, the girl decided to take the blame herself. As the flogging began, the whip tore into her skin, leaving a gaping wound. Yet, within moments, the wound healed, as though no harm had been done. This miracle soon reached the ears of the house's master, Lord Generous. He rushed to the scene, and with a swift motion plunged a knife into the girl's chest. She fought through the agony for minutes, only to rise again, alive. Lord Generous took her away. Upon investigation, he discovered that she was the daughter of the two heretics from years past. At first, he was enraged, but then a brilliant idea crossed his mind. If he could exploit her power, which had never been seen in Elysium, masking it as a divine miracle, it would not only be profitable, but would also thrust him into the spotlight. To achieve this, however, he needed to conceal her true identity. So, he imprisoned her, created a new identity for her, and secretly had her adoptive mother executed. The girl was filled with deep regret. Had she not hidden her true identity in her desperate search for the warmth of a family, her kind, innocent, adoptive parents would never have suffered such a fate. Though the girl was rescued by the resistance during the Great Migration, she never sought out her adoptive father again. Their encounter had been a mistake from the beginning, and she did not want to bring any further misfortune upon him. For decades, she could not rid herself of the burden of the past, constantly worrying about her adoptive father's well-being. In time, as my journey took me through Elysium, I visited him on her behalf. By then, her adoptive father had grown old, his hair streaked with silver. He had spent much of his life in hiding, and when I showed up, he was astonished that anyone still remembered his name. Honoring the girl's wishes, I did not reveal the true purpose of my visit. Instead, I simply sat with him as a ferrywoman, reminiscing about days long past. He remembered everything vividly. The night he lost both his wife and daughter, the moments his life unraveled, casting him into a fugitive's existence, wandering from place to place in perpetual flight. And yet, to my surprise, he told me he had no regrets in choosing to take the girl in. He then handed me a small box, a keepsake containing his wife's ashes. He told me he had long been waiting for a ferrywoman, so that her soul might finally find peace. With quiet astonishment, I performed the long overdue farewell ritual for his wife. To my surprise, even after all these years, I could still hear the whisper of her soul. She spoke the same words as her husband. "Thank you for becoming our daughter." He then told me that from the very beginning, they had known the girl's true identity. On the night her parents were executed, they watched as the executioners, torches in hand, marched into the forest. And the next morning, when they saw the wandering girl, they recognized her at once. Fully aware of the consequences, they made their choice to take her in. For them, meeting the girl, protecting her, and raising her brought great joy. Though it was a joy shadowed by danger, they embraced it without hesitation. The old man confided that his only regret was lacking the courage to leave sooner. Had he taken his wife and daughter away from Elysium earlier, perhaps they might still have been living a peaceful life together today. And so, in the years that followed, the once wronged hunter became a true heretic. For decades, he quietly aided Elysium's oppressed, guiding them across the border to freedom. I did not say it outright, yet, from the quiet relief in his eyes, I believe he had already understood.
Though they may never meet again, knowing that their loved ones are safe is perhaps comfort enough. This story's ending doesn't seem so tragic after all.
Indeed, hearing his words, I found myself reflecting. As long as we live, mistakes are inevitable. Some stem from a narrow vision, others from misplaced hope, and at times, even willful ignorance. However, a misguided choice does not always yield a misguided outcome. The taste of its sweetness or bitterness is known only to those who have lived through it. What truly matters, more than the mistake itself, is the future that lies before us. It grants us the opportunity to make amends, to bring about change, and to transform what we've endured into something more meaningful. Perhaps that is why, when the old man spoke to me of his past, there was neither regret nor sorrow in his eyes, only the quiet contentment of one who has made peace with his journey.
Thank you for sharing this story with me. I've learned so much today, just like before.
It is I who should thank you. Perhaps it's my age, but I do tend to be long-winded. I appreciate your patience, for keeping this old lady company and listening to my endless ramblings about the past. Ah, you've arrived, my child. Tell me, what is it you wish to speak of today?
Lady Nifle, today, I'd like to hear your story.
My story? You are an insightful child. I suspect you have already caught glimpses of it, have you not?
The stories you've told me, they are all your own experiences, aren't they?
Indeed. They are not merely events that happened. They are, in truth, fragments of my own past. I am the woman who bore a gift yet failed to ease people's suffering. I am the helpless girl once imprisoned in the temple's cold embrace. I am the child whose very existence became the harbinger of misfortune for those who took her in.
Right. But still, I wish to hear it from you directly. Not as an observer, but as you, Nifle, the protagonist of your own story.
Ah, I see. Very well. Since you wish to hear it, I shall, albeit uncharacteristically, recount my past. I was born in Elysium, into a family devoted to the ancient Charon myths. When I was 10, my parents were executed for heresy. I was meant to perish alongside them, yet in that moment, I unexpectedly awakened as a daemon, gaining the power of immortality, and so I survived. Orphaned and adrift, I wandered the forests until a passing hunter found me. He took me in, offering the quiet warmth of a home I had lost. At 18, my true nature was inadvertently exposed. Word soon reached Lord Generous, who bestowed upon me the title of the Blessed One, a crown woven of thorns. For years, my world was confined within the walls of a small temple, while Lord Generous reaped immense wealth from selling my blood. It was not until two brave souls, the young scholar and noblewoman from my second tale, rescued me from that lasting nightmare. They were my saviors, my dearest friends, and the ones who first cast light upon my path ahead. Later, Erica fell in battle during our journey north. As for Lexus, though he escaped, he never found the answers he sought for his ideal world. In the end, he faded away amid stacks of unfinished manuscripts, his vision left incomplete. During my years in Ithery, I adopted a child. It was my first experience as a caretaker, witnessing a life unfold before my eyes. I watched her grow, from a tiny infant wrapped in swaddling clothes to a radiant young woman, and later into a figure of calm wisdom. I remember her first cries, her first words, the first time she recited the ancient verses. I recall her endless debates with Lexus, and the solemn moment when she accepted the key to his library as he lay upon his deathbed. Each change in her filled me with joy and pride. Yet, I remained painfully aware that, like Erica and Lexus, she too was bound by the limits of mortality. She could not stay by my side forever. In the end, they all left me. Once, I mourned their passing, but after meeting the two sisters who sought my blood, and bearing witness to countless partings between life and death, I came to accept the impermanence of this world. I have let go of both joy and sorrow, renounced desire, and no longer grieve or rage at the suffering woven into the fabric of existence. For the past 9 centuries, I have wandered across Atlasia, guiding the souls of the departed. Now, I remain in Hyperborea for a time, drawn here by a child whose face is strangely familiar. Yet, I do not seek to meddle in conflicts or alter the course of fate. I wish only to bear witness to her story. Soon enough, I will resume my journey. Nothing in this world will ever truly bring my wandering to a halt, unless, at last, death itself chooses to embrace me. And that is my story. Tell me, my child, does it sate your curiosity?
I would still like to know, before you assumed all these roles, before you gained immortality, what was Nifle like back then?
You are the first to ask of my childhood. Many have been curious about my past, but none have sought to know the life I led before fate wove me into grander tales. Compared to what followed, it was quite unremarkable. Let me think. My first home, the one of my birth, lay deep within the northern forests of Elysium. There were no churches, no nobility, only the soft rustle of hares darting through the underbush and the fragrance of wild berries. My earliest memories are of dappled sunlight filtering through the leaves, and the gentle murmur of a stream winding its way through the quiet woods. In those days, I was no different from any other child. I would beg my father to take me into the forest to play, and I would ignore my mother's gentle warnings, splashing carelessly in the stream. My mother, too, was a ferrywoman. Strangers would pass through the forest, entrusting her with small caskets. Under the moonlight, she would dance, letting them drift down the river's current. Once, I asked her what lay within those caskets. She told me they carried what people cherished and missed dearly. So I asked, why would people cast away what they held dear? She said, because to move forward, one must learn to let go. I did not understand. Sensing my confusion, my father only smiled, ruffled my hair, and said, one day, when you are older, you will understand. But they never lived to see that day. The moment they were executed, the carefree days of the young Nifle came to an end. At times, memories of that distant past resurface. But unlike most, I do not cling to them with longing or nostalgia. I simply let them drift through my thoughts, like fallen leaves carried by the wind. To me, the past, like all that has come and gone, is simply another thread woven into the fabric of my existence, neither weighted with sorrow, nor imbued with special meaning. And yet, as I recount these tales to you, I sense the faintest of ripples stirring within me. I find myself weary. If you do not mind, I shall rest here for a moment.